I got Keith Micucci out of the original township. So just so I'm clear, tonight we voted for a $3.7 million turf field, and next month we're going to vote to close Milford. Is that correct?
We didn't vote on the turf field, we voted on several fields.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the clarification.
3 fields.
3 fields. All right. Just so I'm clear, is that correct?
Correct.
3.6, not 7.
Okay, 3.6, thank you. So let me just play this out in my head. So what I heard earlier was that athletics contribute to higher grades, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Data showed that.
So your data also shows that smaller class sizes contributes to higher grades, correct? Okay. So are we going to expect, since we're closing a school, that we will have higher class sizes in the future?
I would with
It's a yes or no.
repeat the question.
Can we expect higher class sizes with closing a school in the future?
Average stays the same.
Yes.
So we can expect higher class
Yes,
sizes?
sir.
Okay.
We
So-
have very-
so-
we have very low class sizes comparatively to.
The average class size stays the same.
The
So-
overall.
Average class size stays the same.
But we just said, and you agreed, that smaller class sizes contribute to students doing better in the future.
At 18 and students to 1 teacher, yes. Over 18, it's all depends on the quality of the teacher.
Okay, so, but my point is that smaller class sizes.
Let's just make clear that
Perform
the
better.
overall class size average will remain the same from.
Well, you just said that it would increase.
In-
It would decrease for Strayer students, current Strayer students,
So
and
the-
it would increase for the current Milford students.
So the average class size will
So
remain the same.
my point here is, it's not about athletics that cause our students to do and perform
I'm just
well.
clearing.
I agree,
The
I
average class
agree,
size stays.
sir, he already answered the question. I agree
So we're
that
not allowed
athletics
to
is huge.
correct. I'm not sure he understood, Dr. Harlan understood the
He's got a
question.
PhD, he understood the question. It was not complicated.
Well, I'll ask the
It's
question.
done.
Will the average class size stay the same?
I'm receiving consultation from the person who's done the number crunching, and the answer is the average class size will remain the same.
All right. So now you have your answer.
Okay, so
Please
we reverse course, right? So you changed your
I did
answer.
change my thing.
You changed your answer,
So
for
I'll
record.
reply to my expert.
We just want to make sure
All right.
everybody has the right information.
Okay. A lot of confusion tonight, which Mr. Ripper, I have to agree with you that if it didn't go through finance or the facilities committee, why would you vote on it, right? Like not reading the policy, why would you vote on it? My point is that athletics is huge. It's important. I don't think any of us disagree. But I think, and you talked, Mr. Jackson, earlier on about culture. You have disrupted the culture of the community by suggesting and going ahead voting on closing a school. So while culture is important in athletics, the community that surrounds Milford and the closing of that school district has been completely disrupted. And by you guys tonight approving a $3.6 million turf complex and sports complex, which again, my kids will benefit greatly from, and we do appreciate it. Closing schools and proposing to next year close schools has me greatly concerned that this ship doesn't know what direction it's going in right now. And I don't even know why you're talking out both sides of your mouth and in one sense saying we have a financial crisis on our hands, and yet you continue to spend and spend and spend on everything that's somewhat important, yet you slam the backs of the teachers who are doing all the work in this district. All the work. All the work. Yes. They are the end.
They clean the buildings.
Not, okay, I stand corrected. All the people at the forefront of the community, the school district are doing the work, right? Would we agree on that, Mr. Ripper?
What?
Would we agree on that? Teachers, janitors?
Some teachers are, some aren't.
Really?
And what are your family members a teacher?
I have several school family members that are, and Mr. Ripper, I do like to say that you have raised taxes in office over the last 4 years. I haven't even been in office.
What makes you think?
So I'm not, so you're saying I'm coming in raising taxes, I'm asking you tonight to watch your spending. And you didn't. It's embarrassing.
Can I respond to Mr. Micucci?
You can't, you have to have a conversation with him.
I appreciate it, but I'm just sorry. The constant comment, and I want to thank you for bringing it back to our forefront, is that you're looking at a financial gap of $4.7 million.
In operation, I guess.
Okay. Right, but you're pointing to a $3.6 million single-time expenditure, but that was your point. I didn't make the point, you did. You stood there and pointed out the $3.6 million we spent just a moment ago, and compared that to $4.7 million in operating expenses, as if that was some kind of an equivalency. That's what you did. You may not believe what you did.
Okay, let me, like you guys had the
I
opportunity to correct
didn't single
yourself,
thing you said, please,
but your colleagues did.
but I did not.
So let me
I'm
answer
speaking to you.
this.
They're not going to
Okay,
be
go
what I
ahead.
am.
Fine, I'll listen.
Okay. So I believe that your comparison is inaccurate in that regard. You're talking about a single expenditure and you're not addressing the $4.7 million operational expense going forward. Would you agree with that? Just what, yes or no? Just like you asked Dr. Harmon. Yes or no to that question?
So let me go back to the capital, because early on, the reason, and you actually outside were talking to me after one of the board meetings and said that Milford, the problem with Milford is that the boiler's going, it's on the verge of going, and it would be a $1.5 million fix, is that correct?
I don't know the exact figure.
And does anybody?
I've heard $2 million, I've heard 1.5, I'm not sure. I know the.
Okay, so my understanding was that the boiler was on the fritz. So instead of fixing the boiler and investing any more money, that they were going to close it, and in closing it, they were going to save $1 million in operating expenses year over year. Is that correct?
I believe it was 1 point. Say again?
Okay, so $1 million.
But again, my point was that your comparison, in my opinion, was not a balanced comparison. Second one, and Ms. Hoffman, excuse me if I step outside of my expertise and into yours. Thank you. I've heard the class size argument a number of times. Have you actually researched the class size argument? I mean, literally poured through all the peer-reviewed journals and so forth and so on. The reason I ask is because, Ms. Hoffman, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the largest studies was the STAR study in Tennessee, which analyzed class sizes. Am I right with that regard? Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, did you read that?
I did, actually.
Okay. Now, where was the limit to grade level that they analyzed? I'm
So
asking
it
a simple
was,
question.
I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, it was a couple months ago that I read it. But it was at 0 to 4th grade.
To third grade, sir.
Third grade,
Now,
okay. Thanks for steering.
You're-
So here it is.
We're talking about middle school. We're talking about a middle school.
Okay.
And I'm not suggesting that smaller class sizes would not benefit, but to Dr. Harn's point, when you get to that grade level, it's teachers. And we have fine teachers because the silver shield on there will attest to that. So when you bring up the class size argument, it's misplaced, especially because of you read the study just as I did.
So here's the deal. I really appreciate you because when I talked to you outside a month ago, you hadn't read it. So I pointed it out to
We
you.
didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I did. I asked you about it. You didn't know about it.
Oh, I know.
Stefanoff didn't know about it. And so I'm glad because I got it from Dr. Harner. He's the one that mentioned it. And you know where he mentioned it? He mentioned it at Milford Closing. That's where I learned about the STAR study. He mentioned it and wanted, I didn't know about it. And then I went and read it.
Thank you.
So I appreciated it. So let me talk to you about, you're talking about operating dollars versus capital dollars, and I understand the difference. My point was that the Milford building was on the fritz because of a $1.5 million capital investment in the HVAC system.
It's not actually broken.
What, it may break,
It
right?
may break, you know,
It's like kind of
it's
got its
gonna
wheels
wobble.
wobbling,
It's gonna-
right, I get it. So that was the impetus behind why we were going to close it. And then it was the $1 million operating cost. Is that correct? Okay.
So let's say what do we do about our budget gap?
I don't know, we just heard a conversation, I haven't even looked at the budget yet. But my point is, I don't even know, I mean, nobody here really even understood the numbers tonight. It was back and forth, so I gotta go look at it.
There's a lot of numbers, and if you expect, some of the things you do when you run a corporation such as this, is I don't pretend to be an expert in teaching. I don't pretend to be an expert in a lot of things, because that's why we have experts on our staff. That's how you run a company, that's how you run a business.
I
The
understand,
people at the top don't do all the jobs.
I understand.
And the other thing is, if you keep something open that costs the corporation money, and you gotta, and that goes on in perpetuity, how do you expect to ever
But,
stop the budget?
you know, it would make me feel much better if you guys would have said, look, it's $3.6 million, it's not gonna be finished this year anyway. We don't know what the finances are gonna look like next year. We've been painted a picture of doom and gloom from an operating cost. Why don't we look at tabling the discussion, having it go through the Facilities and Construction Committee, discussing it. What if you delayed it a year and your finances are okay next year? Then is it any worse for the wear? I don't
I
know.
think if you ask the coaches, they'll say there won't be any sports for the next school year.
They didn't have it this year. They would have sports next year. Paul, they would. The sports would disappear.
It's between a one-time, it's just like, why don't we sell?
I get
land?
it. Like, it's voted on, I get it.
Mr.
You know,
It's not a total, it's not 3.6 million total, because about 800, that's why I'm trying to get from Architectural Studios, the cost that we would be spending on it as up to the old contracts. So it might be 850,000, so it's really less than that, maybe by about 850,000, whatever it was, for what they were originally going.
How's it less? How's it less?
Well, because we were going to get the lots, a couple of fields regraded and.
Well, she said it was like minimal, and it was already calculated in that 3.6. Yeah.
Yeah. What I asked him, I misunderstood you, that's why.
so you asked us some questions, I'll ask you a question now, if I may. If you tell me no, I won't ask.
Yeah, Paul, no.
So, one of the, you talked about Mr. Ripper raising taxes. One of the things that most of the people on this board have done is committed never to raise taxes above the Act 1 index.
Okay.
Are you ready to make that same commitment?
I haven't been on the board, I haven't been
It's
elected.
a yes or no
I haven't been elected yet.
It's a yes or no question.
Here's the deal,
It's a yes or
I'm not
no
gonna
question.
commit to anything until I can look at the numbers. So here's the deal, you sat behind the seat, right? I haven't, right? You could try to blame me, you could try to
I'm
spin
not
it
blaming
all.
you, I'm
You
just
could
asking
play the
if you
political
can make
game.
that to the.
But here's the deal, I'm not a politician, right?
Yes, you
So
are.
here's where,
As a matter of fact.
here's where I'm entering, and here's why I'm entering. I have 4 kids in the school district, okay? And this is why I didn't wait until I had kids out of the school district to run. This is the only reason.
So the answer is you will not commit
I have-
to keeping taxes.
Correct, I'm
below
not
the
gonna
Act.
commit, right?
So you may raise taxes above that.
I may or may not.
All right.
You're absolutely right. So I have 4 kids in the school district. I happen to have one of them currently in Milford and 2 in Tohickon Valley that will be directly affected by these decisions. That's why I got involved. And that's the only reason I got involved. Because they're going to be directly affected, and then the community gets affected. So my kids and all the kids that my kids play with, and it just affects the entire community. I said, hey, look, either we can get involved and try to help out and not be adversarial, or I can sit back and complain about it. And I chose the latter.
Thank you very much.